but I give it up for them. Anything they need, including my voice, but part of it.
What's it like to be back and kind of be walking through that process?
Yeah, it's been awesome. East Lansing's home for us. We had the opportunity to come last year and bought a home. My kids are in school here. My wife's settling in, and so being back with Coach Fitz and this staff has been amazing. Getting some of the guys back. We've got some returners in the secondary, some guys at the second level at linebacker back. Just being around those guys and seeing how they've embraced the new guys that came in at the break. It's also been pretty cool.
With Joe coming back, obviously Fitz talked about how the defensive staff that was a little easier to settle. And I think I saw you at his introductory press conference.
I was there, yes, sir.
So
Yep.
did it happen, come together pretty quickly, it seemed like?
You know what? It's all a blur. It was probably a few days after, but I think with Coach Rossi being back as a defensive coordinator, keeping that same energy and a little bit more. It's really kind of the same soup, but reheated, a little more spice and flavor. Bringing in some guys that he had a prior relationship with, and then even some new coaches. With Coach Bulla and Coach Poe being in the mix, it's been really cool to get to know them, but also learning a lot of ball from them and how they coach and their perspective has been great.
You a fan of the early morning practices?
I love it.
Players have been saying you guys have been popping
Oh
around
yeah,
and stuff.
I love it. I'm an early riser. I love getting up, getting the work done. I hear that mantra, that term in the back of my head. The early bird gets the worm, and I was raised that way. My folks were early risers, and getting up and going and getting to work is something that's important. It's always been important, and I think for the guys too, just to create that habit for them to get up, get the day started, get the work done. It feels like the rest of the day is kind of downhill once we get it in. So, and then the guys appreciate it. As they're going through it, there might be some grumbling early, but I think they realize they get a little more time on the back end as well. It could be a little more productive.
James, what's it been like having getting your hands on the guy? You really didn't get to work with him a ton on the field because he came in hurt and then he only plays a couple. What's it been like working with him, and what's he providing that maybe you wish you had last year?
Yeah, it's been great. I mean, he's a football player. He's one of those guys that can play multiple positions. He's a field general. He's smart. He knows the game. He's seen it from a couple of different perspectives, having played corner and nickel and safety. This is the third year in this defense, so he's a vet. I was joking with him and telling him, hey, man, you're more Spartan than anything else, with this being year 3. And so having him back and working with him has been awesome because he's heard my coaching points. He knows my style. He knows the energy. And so he's been a really good force multiplier in the room. I think the other thing he's done this year is really taking the reins as the voice and the leader in the room. I think last year and maybe the year before, there were some older guys that have been around, that have kind of been in the program and been around town that knew a little bit more about what it meant to be a Spartan and be in East Lansing. And I think now he's become that guy. And so he's really taking the reins and really taking control of the room in terms of just communicating the standard, holding guys accountable to the standard, and also echoing what we need to get echoed and communicated as a coaching staff.
I wonder about maybe your room overall with some of the transfers coming in. I think Khalil's back. Just kind of the balance that you got, and the guys are coming back and some of the new ones.
It's been fun. Like you said, Khalil Majid is back. Avion Gross is back. Nakai Martinez. Some of the young guys that were redshirted last year, Deuce Edwards, Evan Young, those guys are back. We're getting Caleb Gash back at some point. He's been chomping at the bit in every meeting, sitting on the edge of his seat. And then bringing in some of the new guys, the 3 freshmen that we brought in, along with Mike Richard as a transfer from La Tech and Devin Vaught from Maine. Bringing those guys in, it feels like they've been here. Half of the room just got here in January, but between the old guys who've got some experience playing, that know the game, that know ball, they did a great job being intentional, learning our language the first few months as they were getting to East Lansing. And then the young guys who are just hungry. They're like always upstairs in the office trying to steal some time to learn a little bit more about the defense. It feels like a group that has been together for a while. We feel really connected as a group. I think defensively as a unit, we feel really connected. There are always things on the field that we got to get cleaned up and we talk about, but just how they do it and then the quick response to correction and fixing things has been great to watch as a coach. We're always coaching, we're always working, we're always teaching, but to hear those guys echo some of the same coaching points and be able to take correction and coaching from the classroom to the field has been really cool to see.
Was it a unique situation early December when Fitzgerald was getting his staff together, Martinez was graduating. Did you continue to communicate with Nakai and just
Absolutely.
hold on and
Yes, sir.
what happened? How did that go?
Yeah, you know, it's life, right? There are things that you don't control. You control how you respond to things, and at that time, it was very uncertain, right? But you had, with the transition of the coaching staff, and then with the portal window on the horizon, there really was no clear path of where we're headed. But I knew we were headed forward. Somehow, some way, we had to move forward, and in doing that for me as a position coach is, one, staying connected to the guys, but also continue to do the work on a daily basis. That's with recruiting the freshmen that were coming in, making sure that the next class of recruits stayed connected and stayed engaged in what we were building here. And again, not knowing what my status was going to be with the program, you just got to keep moving forward, right, and keep doing the work. And I think ultimately that's probably what gave me an opportunity to stay, was just, I think Coach saw my commitment to this program and this place and wanting to leave it better than I found it. So if it was going to be in December or later on down the road, that's always been the goal.
So you kept checking in with Nakai?
Absolutely.
And Evan and Deuce also?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Tell me about those guys. They made a little noise last year. They didn't get on the field much during the season, but I heard they were doing
Yeah, so every day, man, they're growing. They're impressing us every day, doing a little bit more. I think last year they got an opportunity late with special teams. I don't know if they were able to get on the field, but that's really showed some growth. This spring's been the same. Those are two guys that are rolling with the ones and the twos on the special teams units, and then getting a lot of snaps on defense. We're expecting a lot of them. They're expecting a lot of themselves, and I think you'll see a lot of them on the field this year. They've done a good job.
Did you know Pat at all, or have a mutual friend in the industry or anything?
I had the opportunity in 2019 when I was at Western Michigan to go work camp, and we visited with them as a defensive staff in the spring. So I met him briefly, but had always heard about him, and some of my mentors in the profession know him very well. And so when this transition happened, they were all saying great things about Coach, but also just like, hey, listen, if you get an opportunity to stay, you need to try to stay, because this is a man that you want to work for and work with. And so hadn't met him personally up until that point, but it's been great to work for him.
Was Nick at Wake with you to back?
Yes, he was.
Okay. So
Yes.
you guys know each other. Okay.
Yeah, so I worked with Nick for 3 years at Wake.
Nice.
He was there before I got there, but he was there with Coach Clausen a long time.
Gotcha.
But we worked together for 3 years.
Joe, going down to the sideline late last season, what did you notice? We've asked him about it, but what did you notice for just the adjustment it makes?
I think just connectivity. I think defensively, our energy is always there. I think if you come watch practice and you watch our guys lift and train and run, and the guys are always chasing, right? And that's baked into what we do. I think our how, the effort on steroids that Coach Rossi talks about, but just when he came down, just being able to connect the defensive unit, as opposed to us kind of being siloed and we're all trying to work on our side projects, and whether we're trying to fix run fits or coverage adjustments. I think Coach Rossi coming down, he gave everybody an opportunity to get together, take a deep breath, realign, refocus, and then let's go to work. And so I thought it was really good to be able to connect the unit on the sideline, whether we had a good series or not, just to make sure that we were all on the same page.
Anything else for Coach Adams?
The other thing he's able to do is, without a position, he's just floating around.
Absolutely,
So
yes.
I know it's early and everything, but you notice anything different there, and how that's beneficial to the defense?
I think it's been great because Coach can speak to the why. As we're installing and adjusting coverages and run fits and whatnot, he can really speak to the guys about why we're doing what we're doing and why we're making changes or why we're adjusting it the way we are. And I think it just gives another voice in that space where we're teaching the players about the defense that, hey, by the way, this is another coaching point. And what I think Coach Rossi does really well is the why sometimes is from past experience, scar tissue, right? He can be like, hey, back in 2002, we were playing this team and they ran this play. And so from that point on, we baked in this adjustment. And so instead of us being reactionary, right, we're proactive about teaching that and putting that in, but also making sure the guys understand the why.
Yeah, thanks, Coach.
Easy.